Hi, this is Barry Keenan from Invisible Poet Kings.
And Matt Forger, and we are on BackstageAxxess.com.
We dance and we sing, we laugh and we dream, we talk about God and life and everything.
We've got two of the most talented men in music, Matt Forger and Barry Keenan, here to talk about an exciting new project, Invisible Poet Kings. Hi Matt, hi Barry, welcome to BackstageAxxess.com. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. We sure do appreciate it.
Well, hi, Chris. Nice to be here.
Yes, Chris, wonderful to have the chance to speak with you.
Great. Now, my first question is for Matt. You started out in this business mixing live sound for rock bands, and that turned into a whole nother deal, building sound systems, making studios. What's been your most exciting design so far, and who is it geared toward?
Well, that's a good question because I've helped out a lot of people. I know a lot of my friends, they say I want to put a studio together. I've done some, I've been hired to do a few. Some of the most fun things that I've done, though, is, of course, I've worked extensively with Michael Jackson, and there have been times when he will go into a studio, and he'll say, I like the studio, but these monitor speakers, I'd like something better. And you have to realize these are like top-flight recording studios that
Right.
have like really superb monitor speakers. But he's used to just a higher level of the sound impacting his body.
Sure.
There's been times when, we've had to go in studios and haul in a special playback system that he has, which would be overkill in a normal situation, but for Michael, it's just the right amount of level and the right amount of punch that, he can feel the music.
Okay.
And it's probably closely simulates the type of level he would have on stage when he was performing.
Okay, well that makes sense. Now, Barry, aside from you being a musician, you also own your own indie label, East of Sideways Music in Beverly Hills. What is it like being involved on both sides of the business?
Well, it's just another extension of what I feel represents the modern artist today.
Okay.
You have to, it's not just about writing a good song or recording a good song, it's also about being able to distribute your music. And, when I started out, when I had the vision, maybe 10 years ago, when I sat down with attorney Neville Johnson, he put out my first album. And then when we sat down and we were discussing the future, basically what I wanted to do was theoretically get up in the morning, write a song, record it in the afternoon, and be able to sell it at night.
Okay.
That was the plan, and that's part of what you have to do today if you're not going to go the major route.
Right.
You're going to do the indie thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why. And in the meantime, not only was it set up as a label for myself and Neville, but it was also we brought on other artists and we brought on other writers to our publishing company. So we're growing as a label as well as artists.
Great. Now, Matt, you've worked with some top names. You've already mentioned, Michael Jackson, and I know that everybody is interested in hearing about Paul McCartney. Could you tell us just a little bit about the incredible experience of working with him?
Well, working with Paul was a real thrill for me because I grew up loving the Beatles. I think the Beatles and the Beatles music is the cornerstone in popular music of when there was this gigantic shift. And it engaged a lot of people. A lot of people wanted to feel that vibe. They wanted to feel that energy. They wanted to get closer to the music. And that was a characteristic that the Beatles' music was very infectious. It was very engaging. So to actually have the opportunity to be in the studio, now, whereas I did work with Michael for a very long amount of time, I only got to work with Paul about a week or so.
Okay.
But knowing who he was when he came in, of course, he had my utmost respect and admiration. But the thing that I found out was that he has this intuitive musical ability that is just so, his sensibilities and his musicality of his ideas, when we'd be working in the room, and it's on the song "The Girl Is Mine," the duet with Michael Jackson from the Thriller, ideas would be tossed around. Well, we could do this, we could throw an ad up here, and most people try to come up with one great idea, they'll come up with several, and all of his ideas that he came up with were just outstanding, remarkable ideas. It's just, which one's going to fit the vibe at this particular moment? It's just like to have that much talent is right there in front of you it's something that I guess you expected someone from the level that all occupies.
Right, exactly. Now, you've both been in the music industry through lots of changes, some tumultuous times. How have your experiences prepared you for the recording industry as it is today?
Well, that's one of those things that, the more varied experiences you have in your life, then the more resourcefulness you have.
Sure.
And, a lot of artists, they may work very diligently on their craft, on their instruments, on practicing, on writing, on stage presence. But if you don't have the other side of the coin, if you don't have that business background, then you're really at a disadvantage, because there are such tremendous opportunities out there, but you really need to know both sides of the coin. And I think Barry having the label, it gives him kind of that a little bit of a leg up in knowing how the business works, because it is a business of music.
Sure. Now, Barry, as the front man for Invisible Poet Kings, how did you end up teaming up here with Matt?
Well, Matt and I were on a panel in North Hollywood. It was I think it was the Independent Music Conference. I forget the exact name of it.
Okay.
Is that what it was, Matt?
Indie Summit?
Indie Summit, yeah. And I was asked to be on the panel as wearing my producer hat.
Okay.
And so was Matt. It was a producer's panel. And we were there with an audience, and we were sitting side by side on this panel, and of course we were all introduced to the audience there, and I'm sitting there and I'm going, "Whoa, this guy sitting next to me, man, is like, he's got some heavy credentials." And it just so happened that the guy that was emceeing the panel, his name was Alex Del Zotto, who had a band called Sweetwater, who was the first act to play at Woodstock. He was moderating the panel.
Wow.
And he knew Matt. And so after the panel was over, the two of them were discussing that they were going to go out and grab something to eat. So I just invited myself along. And we went and we had something to eat. And we really hung out for a couple, 3 hours, just talking and getting to know each other. And in the course of the conversation, we were talking about how, as producers, we're always inundated with artists giving us CDs. We both have studios, we both have, and I've got the record label, and Matt's got his gigantic resume. So we get CDs all the time, and we're talking about how difficult it is to always find the time to listen to a whole CD, and we really don't like to get them. And so when it was all over, we were walking to the parking lot, and I said to Matt, I'm going to do something we both said that we don't like people to do to us. Here's a copy of my latest CD. And I didn't hear from him at all, and I thought, oh, that's a bust. But, I guess he just didn't like it, so, which is, everybody out there would know is not uncommon. You pass stuff around all the time, and you hardly ever hear anything back. But I don't know why we weren't Facebook friends, but I saw a post by him on Facebook, and he was saying that, he said, yeah, I've been riding around for the last couple of months listening to this guy, Barry Keenan, on my CD, and I really like his stuff a lot. And so I emailed him through Facebook, and then I said, thanks for the props, and I said, maybe we should get together, and he sent me his phone number, and here we are. We've been working almost a couple of years together now.
Cool. Now, Matt, what is it like working with Barry, another fellow producer, but who also happens to be the front man in this band?
Well, frequently I have the opportunity to work with other engineers, other producers, even though that's kind of my stock and trade. That's what I do.
Right.
And I started doing that with Michael because, working with him was always a big team effort. And there would always be a number of people working on whatever project Mike was working on.
Okay.
And when I met Barry, the thing that attracted me is the quality of his music, the songs. I thought the songs, spoke to a person, as an adult. It wasn't bubblegum. It was stuff that, you could relate to and understand what he was saying. And because he does function as a producer, an engineer, a songwriter, a performer, he covers all the bases. There was just this great ability to communicate because, when someone has already kind of mastered all the craft things, then it comes down to, how you develop your focus. Where are you specifically putting your emphasis, where are you fine-tuning things? So it's not like starting with someone on a learning curve. It's like you've got somebody already at the top of the wave, and you can just step on the wave and surf along together.
Okay. Now, Barry, could you tell us a little bit more about the band, about Invisible Poet Kings, and the description of the album, American Brit Pop Rock? Would you elaborate on that as well?
Yeah, well, first of all, American Brit Pop Rock. I'm from New England, and so I have that sort of European connection. Of course, as Matt was raised and loved the Beatles, so did I. And I love that whole British invasion thing that happened back in those days, and was heavily influenced by all of that music in a songwriting sense, an engineering sense, a production sense, all of that. So that transpired into what we do as a band now. The band is 4 members, all from different parts of the country. The drummer, Voice McGinley, he toured the world with Kataro, and Ed Krzaniak, he's from Michigan, Voice from Virginia, and then Jamie Lewis is here from Southern California, and we all just come together around the fact that we just like to play this music, and we like to perform it, and we have a blast in the studio. And the band formed back in the 90s when I was asked to, I put together my own album back in the day then, and got a record deal with that, and I have continued on with Invisible Poet Kings ever since.
Okay. Now, how does the newest record, Under the Sun, compare to your previous releases production-wise, since this time, you're with Matt?
Is that a question for Barry?
Whoever wants to handle that one. Both of you.
Well, as far as what Matt has brought to the table is a level of expertise that I don't think that I was doing on my own. Anytime you collaborate, I've been sort of a one-man show for quite a while, and for me, it's just great to have somebody come in who understands the music, understands the songs, understands exactly what I'm trying to do and where my focus is at, and able to take that and make it on an even higher level. And that's what Matt does. He's, he always, of course, when we're doing stuff, he's always talking about, Michael. And one of the things that Michael did is he had this level of, not perfection, but expertise, and just always trying to make everything that he did the very best it could be, and not so less. And I'm guilty sometimes of just going, oh, that's good enough.
Sure.
But what's good enough is not good enough. It has to be, you have to take it a step higher, and Matt is always doing that. He's always pushing it to be better, better, better. We got to get the highest that we can go for. And so, so that's, it's an improvement for me, absolutely, and a pleasure.
Okay.
It's a collaborative effort, too, because there's nothing I like better than working with a great songwriter. I always considered Michael kind of a singer-songwriter because the context that I worked with him. I very often would work in the studio with him while he was writing his songs and pulling the sound and the style of production together. So he was always the singer who was singing his songs. So it's that kind of thing. The good all begin in the writing of the song. And when that's there, the rest makes a whole lot more sense.
Okay. Next question for Matt. You're credited with not having a specific sound and letting the artists emerge as you go through the recording process with them. Is this a skill that you worked on developing, or is this just your natural style? Is it something that you have to really set your mind to do?
Well, it probably started when I originally got into music. I took guitar lessons to play guitar, but all my friends, or the group of guys that I was around, they were better musicians than myself.
Okay.
And I could make them sound better than they otherwise would sound because I just found I had this natural gift for, sitting at a mixing board, twisting knobs and balancing and just pulling together a cohesive sound. I always loved electronics and music and equipment and hi-fi and stereo, so I was always, designing and building my own stuff because I always wanted something better. And when I got a chance to, put my hands on the controls, then that's the ultimate, wow, now I can make it sound better for a whole group of people. And that's kind of like what my philosophy was when I was mixing live, was I want to find out, how I can push this and make this sound the best that it can be. And in doing so, I didn't study music or production. I actually studied fine arts.
Okay.
And by studying fine arts, I really was, studying creativity. And that's what I always try to focus on is what's the creative force here? Where's the creative force going? And how can we as a team get there and with the best results?
Awesome. Now, you realize BackstageAxxess.com is based out of Buffalo, New York, and I know you both have some kind of connection to Buffalo. Matt, could you tell us what's your connection to our great city?
Well, yes, I attended college in Buffalo at Upstate, as it's called, State University of New York, College of Buffalo. And I was a fine arts student there. And I enjoyed the environment. I always enjoyed being in a creative environment, regardless of its music, if it's art, if it's something mechanical. And it was my second home for several years.
Sure.
And I liked the city. And being an art student, I loved going to Albright Knox and just looking at all the fantastic art that they had there. That was an inspiring thing. Absolutely.
Now, Barry, you also have a connection, having worked with the Goo Goo Dolls. Have you been to Robbie's studio up there in Buffalo?
No, my connection in that was that I mixed. I used to work on a show called On Tour, which ran on Saturday nights around the country.
Okay.
During the 90s, and my job was to mix the music for the show. It was a company called Sunshine TV, and I worked for an independent recording studio, Blue Palm Recording Studio in North Hollywood, which was owned by Trevor Lawrence, who wrote "I'm So Excited." and Trout played saxophone for the Rolling Stones. When I was a staff engineer there, so when the gig came in, I got the call to me and another producer got the engineer. I'm sorry, got the call to mix the music for the TV show, and the Goo Goo Dolls was one of the acts that I was fortunate enough to be able to mix. And so that's my connection. Some of the acts did come into the studio. There were many that we worked with during that time. But the Goo Goo Dolls were not one of them. They did not come into the studio.
Okay. Now this question is for both of you. Are there any tidbits of information that you'd like to add for up-and-coming artists or recording engineers? Maybe a word of wisdom?
Yeah, you got to be really good. There's a lot of competition up there. And there's a lot of people who aren't willing to really, really work hard. You know, they'll put forth an effort, but they aren't going to go to the 110% level. They're going to, you know, they're going to want to, you know, have a life too. And sometimes, you know, that's what you have to do. You have to sacrifice something in your life if you want to achieve something, because the competition is fierce, and you've got to be better than the competition, which means you've got to work harder.
Yeah, it's Matt said the magic word, sacrifice. It's all about sacrifice. If you're not prepared to go through the quote pain that you have to endure to survive in this business, then I can tell you right now, don't even try, because you know, if you want the normal things in life like families and money and, you know, dogs and whatever else you want, you know, it's not easy. It really isn't, and it's up and down, up and down, up and down. It's always going to be that way. It's still that way. But if you're committed and your passion is that this is your life force, this is what you're here on planet Earth to do, which in my case it always has been. And you know, I started out at a young age, and I'm still doing the same things I did when I was 15. Which is writing and recording music and performing it. So, and engineering it. And yeah, so you have to be prepared to endure in order to survive.
All right. Thank you so much, Matt. Thank you, Barry. We appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today and fill us in on all this great info about Invisible Poet Kings and everything that you both have coming up.
Okay, well, also, Chris, Barry wanted to thank one other person.
Yeah, we'd just like to thank Dan Warren from Warren Publicity here in Los Angeles for setting this up. And, you know, and the thing about Dan is, too, and the thing about all of us working out here is that most of us are all artists, songwriters in our own right. And Dan does the publicity, but he's also a recording artist himself. He's got a new song coming out, Perfect, which I produced, and Matt mastered. So we want to give a little kudos there.
Absolutely.
And thank you for having us on here. Appreciate the time, and it was nice chatting with you.
Oh, it was great.
You're on BackstageAxxess. Thank you so much, Chris.